And, for example, I ask people this all the time. Do they think that their thoughts come first or their feelings come first? What would you say? Rick, is
I
it thoughts or feelings? Do you feel or think things first?
well, I'm a little odd, so I'm going to go with thoughts. It's probably feelings for 99% of the other people, but I'm a little odd. But tell me, am I wrong? Welcome to Sharpen the Spear podcast, where we help manufacturing executives command the front and win the floor. I'm Richard Walsh, creator of the Sharpened Impact methodology, and I spent decades helping leaders transform frontline teams, unlock hidden profit, and capture capacity they didn't even know they had. If you want to see where your leadership gaps are costing you and how to fix them, head over to grittolead.com and run the free Sharpened Impact Simulator today. Let's sharpen your edge and get started. And we are back on STS Sharpen the Spear podcast with another incredible guest. Andre Thornton is with us today. And Andre, no one knows Andre better than Andre. So, Andre, give us the backstory, bring us up to speed so we can tear into the conversation.
Andre Thornton. Oh, my second favorite subject, I guess. I'm not the baseball player. Let me just say that up front. I learned years ago that there's a really good Thunder Thornton in Cleveland, and actually not related to him. So I've had this name. My middle name is Whitman, and so there's an Andre W. Thornton, and Whitman is actually the name of a company that I created. It'll be 10 years on March 31st. My story is unusual. I am an engineer by education who got a job that was very normal out of college. I worked at an incredible aerospace and defense company. The short version is I was there 18 years and then about 10 years ago decided to start this company, Whitman Consulting. So imagine an engineer that sits in all these emotional intelligence, soft skills, leadership training, kind of rolls his eyes, saying, this is taking so much time. I've got other things to do. I don't want to talk about feelings. And that same engineer now teaches about feelings. And that has been the evolution of Andre W. Thornton. And I'm really excited to be with you today, Richard.
Well, awesome. Awesome. So, you did intentionally name your company after your middle name.
I did.
Okay. Because it works. It's
It
okay. It
does?
works. It works. It works. It sounds cool. Whitman and your Whitman Consulting?
Yes, Whitman
Okay,
Consulting is
well,
good.
that's like class.
It
That's
it
like
does work, right?
that's highbrow, man. That's
Right.
highbrow.
All right.
I'm
I
telling
had a
you.
good, yep. I had a good feeling about that. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that it's carrying that way. Because you don't know, if that's just how I'm thinking, but it's good to hear you say it.
It's funny. It is one of those things about naming your company. Okay. like and I go all different directions on this, but like with people, like they're so into their name of their company, that's like what they put on the side of everything. You have no idea what they do. You just know the name,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like, you're leaving off the important stuff. Okay.
I'm with you.
I mean, I
Yep.
know you like your name and all. That's cool, but it's like, I need my toilet fixed. Do you fix toilets? Okay, I just need to know. Okay, but yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, names are good, and don't change them. I changed mine. You want a huge mistake? So near the end, '08 was it '08? Yeah, in '08, things are good, and I got convinced to like shift the name of my company I had for 20 years. Okay.
After 20 years, you were thinking,
Yeah, so we're gonna delve into a quick level of stupid that I operated at. Okay, so and my company was Rick Rock, right? I did ponds, waterfall, streams. I did steel sculptures, and then the best there is, right? I built this whole thing, and I started doing these custom pools that look like quarries, so boulder lined walls, brick paver bottoms, salt water, stone steps, like amazing. It's like you're swimming in a giant purified quarry. So someone said you should call it Extreme Pools by Rick Rock, like that. I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds cool. I mean, that's where I wanted to go. I want to do more of those. And so I did it. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then I'm at this trade show and I got the big sign up, Extreme Pools. And people walk by and they look and for a second they go, oh, well, I'm looking for a pond. Now I do ponds, waterfalls, streams, right? That's what I spent 20 years doing. But they don't read past the first word or two. So I ever thought I was just a swimming pool contractor. Okay. My bread and butter, I mean, all my money like just kind of vanished. Okay. One of the dumbest things ever. I'm like, I think it was kind of like the last nail in the coffin, I think, but holy cow, be careful with the name thing. Enough of me. Back to you, Andre.
Names do matter.
They matter. Keep them. So let's get now you're in Whitman. You got 18 years in aerospace. I live in a big aerospace area, with Woodward and all that cool stuff, right? So we got all that here in Rockford, Illinois. We do a lot of defense work here in this area. And so now you do that for 18 years. Now you're Whitman Consulting.
Mhm.
Like, so I get a little squirmy when you start talking about feelings too. So I get it. And I know a lot about it. So but I'm still, it's not my favorite thing. You know what I mean?
Me either.
To talk, right. So let's get into what you do because I think I'm going to be pleasantly surprised. It's not what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it is what you're thinking, Richard. It, it
Oh
is.
no.
It's exactly it. And it's uncomfortable and it's hard and I still don't like it. I don't like it, but I respect it and I understand how important it is. It does not feel good though. So if we had to kind of break it down, I got into the science of this stuff. And there are some really basic neuroscience based facts about the human condition that many of us just haven't been taught. And once we understand those things, just like understanding how to, you know, build a car or repair an airplane, there's a process to it. And, for example, I ask people this all the time. Do they think that their thoughts come first or their feelings come first? What would you say? Rick, is
I
it thoughts or feelings? Do you feel or think things first?
well, I'm a little odd, so I'm going to go with thoughts. It's probably feelings for 99% of the other people, but I'm a little odd. But tell me, am I wrong?
You are absolutely right.
Oh, dang, look at that. I told you I'm odd.
And you're right. Most people say feelings because
Yeah.
it feels that way. They're these things that bubble up. They're chemicals in our brain and they go through our body. And, we don't realize that we can control them. We can actually sort of self dose ourselves with certain chemicals, and we can do it with our thoughts. A lot of times when we aren't feeling good, there's a thought that's driving that feeling. And thoughts are not who we are. They're like trains that come and go if we let them. But we get used to, and this is the habit of being a human, is you get used to having these recurring thoughts and the feelings, and then you know they say that we have like 12 to 60,000 thoughts a day, and like 80% of them are negative. And so what happens, there's this thing called negativity bias that causes us to focus on the bad things. And that focus is what keeps us in a very desolate mental and emotional state. It's what we're focusing on. And I learned that you can change your focus over time and you can literally build new neural connectors in your brain that change the way you think and the way you feel and ultimately what you do. So it's like once we understand a simple fact, and that's just one of them like that, then you can start to design your life around that fact and you can start to create an environment that helps you trigger the right thoughts so that you have the right feelings and those feelings turns into actions and outcomes. And I didn't know that growing up. I didn't know that that was the way to control my experience. And once I learned it, and ever since I've learned it, I can't stop teaching it to people.
So let me ask you though, go back to when you didn't know, when we operating like most people know, like
Yeah.
Why did you accept it? Like, was it just this is the operating system I have?
No one told me. No one told me
Hmm.
I had a, so there's this a lot of times when I'm doing this and I'm teaching it, I'll have a little demonstration and I'll say, I'll have them pretend like I was there with a big bag and in this point of the presentation, I'll have slides up and I'll say, now imagine if I reach down in this bag and I pull it out of it and then I go to the next slide and it's a snake, this big boa constrictor snake. And I say, you know, imagine I had this snake and I laid it on the ground towards your feet and started coming towards you. And the people that are still in the room are afraid and having all kinds of emotional reactions. And then I explain that I take my phone out and I start moving my fingers, and you see the snake start and it stops and it starts and it stops. It's a fake snake. You're actually in no danger. And you thought you were in danger, and that's why you felt like you were in danger. And that's, we're not born afraid of snakes. We're born with like only a fear of loud sounds. We learn everything that causes us fear. And I was just like everyone else on earth that grows up in an environment learning what's good, what's bad, what to be afraid of, if someone says something a certain way that's supposed to piss me off, if someone says something in another way that's supposed to make me feel good. Like I learned these things from the environment. And I didn't realize that I had been programmed based on that environment. And more importantly, I didn't realize that I could reprogram. And, when I'm describing it as like fundamental, you would think it doesn't matter with snakes. But once you understand that the principle was there, then you can start to design your daily experience with everything you do, with everyone you interact with, from your kids, wife, family, partner, work, how you talk to yourself, all of it can be reprogrammed. It just takes time.
Yeah, I learned that. Well, I've always been like super positive. It's kind of weird. Been through a lot of, a lot of trauma young, all kinds of different stuff, right? A lot of difficulties, a lot of suffering, whatever, between training and then Marine Corps and then boxing and Taekwondo, all the stuff, right? But I always have this positive attitude, and it does drive my wife insane. Okay, because like the world's not going to end because of this, that, or this, right? So we just figure it out and we work through it. But then I got this book, and I was telling someone else just recently, but I was really terrible at math. Okay, so math, just 4 years in high school to get out of general math. Okay, that's how bad I was. Okay, like you're an engineer, so you're laughing at me, but I struggled. Okay, I may have no long division for this kid. Okay, so but I read this book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, and I forget the guy's name, but it's a great book, right? So he's talking about like just you read and record yourself saying this, and then listen to it and do that. Like, and so I did. Well, I'm gonna do it for math. That's the biggest thorn in my side is my inability to do math well. And then I did this for like 3 weeks, and all of a sudden I like numbers. I start doing math. I start doing this stuff, and I can do like math really fast. And I start doing this, and I'm like, well, that's kind of wild, you know. I go, I got something out of this book, because I did it. So I'm with you. I'm tracking with you on this. I think it is trainable. You know what I mean? I think our mind is all that. As I go through, I remember going through, just basic training in the Marine Corps. That's all a head game. Physically, yeah, big deal. So I can do a lot of push-ups. Who cares, right? Like you can do that, but I mean, it's the head game that makes people quit. It's not the physical, right? So you have to train yourself to receive in a different way, and it's negative reinforcement, right? So they're always making fun of you, and I'm just laughing the whole time. It just was hilarious. There's no one funnier than a Marine Corps drill instructor. Pick your best stand-up comic. They can't hold a candle to a Marine Corps drill instructor. Okay, they're the funniest guys on the planet. But so it's just interesting how you start to combine just what you're saying. I start to put these little events like, okay, I guess I was doing that.
Mhm.
Not really knowing I was doing it. Right. So it's pretty interesting.
I love it. You were lucky. How old were you when you read that book?
Oh man, 40s in my 40s.
Oh, this was I thought you were saying you read it back in the.
No, no,
Oh,
I don't know
you're.
when it came out. It's been out a while, but I think it was maybe I was 50.
But
I
you
don't
were
know.
always positive. You were
Always
saying.
positive. Yeah, I
Okay.
just like
Just had it.
I just can't I don't know. I don't know. I've never been depressed in my life.
That's a gift, man. That
Like
really.
a I had a guy on suicide. He's a comedian talking about suicide, because he had all this stuff. And he goes, "That's because you're neuronormal." He goes, "Yeah, that's what they call it. You don't ever have thoughts of." I go, "Well, then that's what I am. I'm neuronormal." Okay, because I'm just, I'm not like stupid happy. Okay, and I got anger and I got all the other cool emotions, but I unload them on the heavy bag and other places like that. So
Oh, I love it.
yes,
Yeah, you have the
yeah.
outlet.
So continue. I'm talking too much.
No, no, I mean, I love the back and forth. This is great. So that's a principle, and I wrote a book around. It's really interesting. The title that's going to be coming out soon. The title is Disrupted. Um, and the title sounds negative, right? The subtitle is
Unless I hear it, I think it sounds great.
right. Unless you hear it, Rick, it is absolutely positive because you have been trained, well trained to master the thought life. So the subtitle is The Two Stabilizers and Seven Accelerators of Growth Through Chaos. And the reason for the title and the subtitle is disruption happens every day. It happens all around us. I define disruption as just when things don't go as we expect it to. And there's big things and there's little things, but if you look throughout the day, it's all these sort of mini triggering experiences and scenarios that disrupt us. And what it's doing is it's throwing our nervous system into a frenzy. And what I did for myself first, back when I started this company, was I had to reprogram myself. And I did it piece by piece, just by understanding, researching the science. And that's where these two stabilizers and seven accelerators come from. It's the pieces that I researched and I found, wow, if you put all these pieces together, kind of like a puzzle, then you can create what I call disruption optimization, where no matter what happens, it's all about the recovery time. You're able to recover faster and faster. And, the bigger and bigger things that happen, the more you practice these methods, you're able to still recover faster and faster. And, I didn't set out to build this. I set out to just, my whole thing is about growth and, reaching potential and helping people do that. And then I backed into like, these are the things that are holding people back. So this is what's needed to help them move forward. And that's where the book and the concept comes from.
Did you find that okay, first question I want to ask though is when does those little disruptions turn into chaos?
Great question. They turn into chaos when, and I got a little four square diagram that talks about certainty and control. They turn into chaos when we have both low certainty of what's going to happen next, and we feel like we have low control. Um, a disruption in a chaos situation is you get a call from your boss to come to the office and they say, we're letting you go today, or you've been identified on this list and you have 2 weeks. That's a state of chaos. That's a state of, I don't feel like I have control. This thing happened to me. And I've had this job for however many years. I don't know how I'm going to get my next paycheck after this uncertainty. So that would be a sort of classic that I know, unfortunately, many people are experiencing right now, description of chaos. Now, chaos could also be where you, on a personal note, you find out um, that there's an illness, a health issue that you're facing that is serious. Chaos can also be that you are thrown into an environment that at work that you don't really know what to do and how to do it. And you've been thrusted into it and you feel like everything is on the line and you're not sure. You've got to go learn all these new tools and do all these new things. And you have no idea what to do or how to do it. In that moment is chaos. So that, it ranges. It can be really sort of life altering things, but it can also just be stuff that happens to us all the time. And in that moment, until we recover from it, we feel chaos.
Okay, so my next question. We're going to go a little deep here. Okay, so the next thing is going to be entropy and drift. Okay, so we got entropy and we got drift. You have disruption, you have chaos. Okay, you have entropy, which is right, it's degrading, and then you have drift, which is getting away from a standard or something the usual, right? Something they're trying to be held to. You have this drift that's very almost imperceptible, but it happens over time.
Mhm.
Now, and this isn't a test. I'm just saying,
No,
like
I like
you
that.
you have the disruption, you have chaos, you have entropy, and you have drift. Okay, so there's these now you have these four different things. These are all different levels and different out cause different outcomes, right? So
Yeah.
they all kind of it's kind of wild. I really like this. Okay, so this is like I'm trying to define each one of these, and I think they're all tied together.
Yes,
Do you think so?
I do. And, so let's just kind of go to the drift. I really like that term. That's powerful
It's a good
because
one.
it is a sort of gradual, the drift happens and it can be sort of thing by thing by thing. And then next thing you know, we've drifted and we've kind of lost our way. A major disruption is the pandemic, right?
Right.
Chaos. We got to stay in the house. We don't
Yep.
know, and we can't believe that this is happening. We've lost control. But coming off of that, maybe we feel like we recovered from that. We figured out how to do hybrid and all the things. But there's something about now knowing that the world can change in an instant and our autonomy can be taken away that causes a drift that sort of keeps us unsettled. It keeps our nervous system on edge. And, the next thing that might be an announcement that, oh, there's a really bad flu season this year, or there's some other thing that kind of triggers it that because we've drifted, we have a stronger reaction and it feels more disruptive than it actually is. So I love that idea because I think that over time, and if we don't recover, and this is really another reason, Rick, why I got into understanding this stuff. I learned that if we don't recover, I used to not want to process my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
My negative stuff would happen, and I would just ignore it. I would think it was a distraction. Um, I needed to process it. I had a very traumatic situation where I had my best friend take his own life early in my career. So I'm like 24 years old. He's my first cousin, best friend. I had just gotten engaged. He was going to be my best man.
Wow.
And he took his own life 2 months after I asked him to be my best man. And I was in such a great place in my life. Like everything was going great, just got engaged, work was going great. And he was, and we grew up together, but we had things that just shifted like through college and after. And he was in a completely different place. And when that happened, I didn't want to face, you know, the grief of it. I didn't want to face it head on. And so I just kind of tried to tuck it away, instead of dealing with it. And it just caused all kinds of destructive behavior. It was like, and then I realized later it was like there was an open wound that was just there, just getting infected, just, not being taken care of. But I thought because I had just covered it up with a bandage, it was fine. And I later learned, that, it doesn't have to be that way. And there's a reason that we process and there's a process to processing feelings, and especially the negative ones. And that is what I think we can do to prevent the drift so that when the thing happens, make sure that we're actually making sure it's moving through us and being processed as opposed to just tucked away somewhere. And hopefully we'll have less drift over time.
Yeah,
We get it out.
I'm with you on that for sure. I think the whole thing that 'cause I do this on manufacturing floors and stuff like that, drift's a big thing, and some is a combination of things too. I found too, and one other thing, another word we can add to the pile is apathy. Apathy is a big cause of drift too, because people stop caring. They're not being held to a standard, right? So they stop caring. Like standards drive behavior. Okay, they drive performance. Okay, that's what all that stuff is about. I had a guest on. We're talking about grief. Okay, she's like this super grief expert, and I wanted to know how it affects someone as a business owner. So we
Mm,
dove into that, which was kind of like what you're saying. Like you don't realize what that's doing to your everyday function. Like you said, it's an internal bleed. Okay, that you don't get, and it the snappiness, the shortness, the this and the and I was never a let's talk about our feelings guy, right? On that kind of stuff. I just suck it up and here we go. But and I still not like this, but I get what it does, right? You have to release it. I've seen the power of it when that happens. And the drift aspect, what we try to train is how soon can you catch it? Like you're saying, this is part of the training, right? We want to identify drift and correct it. Okay, reinforce standards, bring it back in, and how often, how early can you catch it? We literally grade people on that, right? Like if you let it go way too long, and there's some negativity attached to that, right? And from a command sense, and it's really, really interesting to watch when people start to recognize drift. It's like you're saying, you spent a lot of years doing this, right? Now we just put some different terms on it, but it's the same thing. It's not personal. This could be like I said, on a factory floor, but a lot of people affect drift. It's not one person doesn't affect drift. You've got a group. It's kind of like one person might lower something, or a supervisor, or we call a commander, lowers the standard, or negotiates a little bit. If something goes, that's what begins drift.
mm.
So it's really, really interesting. And the entropy part, when you look at that, that's a degrading, right? So let's take your situation with your cousin at that early age. Not only were you had the drift, but I think you had a degradation,
Yeah.
like internally, maybe even mentally or spiritually, whatever that might be. Did you find that too,
Oh
Frank?
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it changed it changed what it meant to be alive. Like it degraded my life experience the same way in a negative way that my life experience was upgraded when my daughter was born. Like everything changed when I saw her, my first child. But yeah, losing him, it kind of was like this new reality of, wow, this is how painful things can be that I just didn't know existed. And that was the thing to grapple with, to be honest. If I could go back in time and do things differently, it would be specifically that thought that, you know what, this feels like a degradation of how good I thought life could be. This is a different version of life than I thought was possible these previous 24 years. And I need to deal with that. I need to reckon that and what that means and not allow it to continue to be there as a sort of degraded experience because that's exactly what life became
How
afterwards.
long did that tell? Was that a few years? What was that like
Years,
till? Yeah,
years. Yeah. So this was the end of 2000. I mean to be honest with you, Rick, until my daughter was born in '04, I think I was still kind of out of it.
4 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So from 2000 to 2004, I think I was there. I was getting stuff done. I was productive. Things were happening, but I just, my spirit wasn't right. And I think when she came, there was this reawakening of like
Or
the way
life,
I felt
right?
before.
Yeah.
Yeah, before he passed. I got that feeling back again. And now she's about to graduate college.
There you go. See, it's still good. It's
Yeah.
still good. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So here's a correlation. So my son, who's 21 now, he's in the Marine Corps. He's killing it, doing great. When he was, I think, 15, maybe, he had a really good, real close friend. Also took his life. Right? They were both in scouts together, and they both made this little pack because everyone was making fun of them. You're never going to get your Eagle Scout. You know, blah. Just because they were whatever. So they made a pact that they're going to both get their Eagle Scout. And then I think it was 6, 8 months later, my son's friend took his own life.
Mm,
Okay, that was hard. Like went through all this stuff, but my son, because he's a unique individual. It's his mental capabilities are really cool. You'd like him a lot. He'd be right along in line with your stuff. But he took that and he drove for that eagle to honor his friend.
mm.
He didn't let him set it back. It wasn't that. And he got that, right? So he got it. I remember at the ceremony when he was going to get it, we went for lunch, him and I, and he goes, "Hey, Dad, I got to ask you, I got to talk to you about something." And no dad wants to hear that. Okay. From 18-year-old. So I'm like, okay. And he goes, "Well, I want to go in the service." I'm like, "Oh, I want to be Navy SEAL. I want to be Marine, whatever." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, you know what that involves?" He goes, "Yeah, but you have to train me. I'm a trainer. And I took him to the Junior Olympics and I've trained him for years, right? Told him how to box. He got a real good boxer and everything. But I'm like, okay. So like again, he's driven this way in his mind. Okay. Like he did that. He had his Eagle ceremony. He's talking about the next thing and all this kind of stuff. So there's a point to this. So he's in the Marine Corps about a year and a half. And then we get on a podcast. Someone invites us on a podcast. They want to interview him and have me tag along. Okay. So he's there and they're asking him these questions. And it was really interesting, and I always tell people like one of the questions, well, why the Marine Corps? Why do you want to, why do that? He goes, well, I want to be able to protect my family with both my hands and a weapon, and I'm like looking at this. He's sitting next to me. I'm looking, and I'm like, oh, I mean, I was in the Marine Corps at 17, but you know what I was not thinking about? How to protect a family I didn't have. Okay. I did all these great things. And I told him right in the thing, Andre, I go, the difference between you and me at 20 years old? I go, I'm doing cool, great things to do cool and great things. You're doing them for the future, everything. She asked him, why didn't you quit? The other people quit. He goes, well, that's not who I am. You know, then one day he's explained to me how he can listen to a podcast, do this, read a book, and how he's compartmentalized everything in his brain. And I'm like, dude, I have to just listen to a podcast. I can't even move. I just sit in a chair. Okay. I'm like, you have to go check my pulse, because I don't have that capability. But you know what I mean? People who take their mind and he gets through it, the power of that. That's kind of the whole thing. And just seeing that in action is really impressive. Now you struggle for 4 years till you realize that. Now I will back it up to like he had a big race with the best in this, it's him and the other top guy, and he lost by a fraction, right? Coming down the chute, elbowing each other, man, and he didn't get it. Well, he went into the big slump, right? So same thing. So I'm not saying this kid's perfect, but
Mm.
like that depression sets in too, because he's known as the best. He's known as this, and he couldn't live up to that. So then he goes in this thing, and I just take him and yank him out of that. I straightened him out. He's okay now. But you know what I mean? It's like it's really interesting to hear this. And at that young, when your mind isn't fully developed, even at 24, you're barely there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we're like, you kind of see that and understand that. And what it's done for me, Andre, is with 6 kids. Okay, you see all kinds of levels of goofy. Okay, it's 17 years old.
Oh, yeah, man.
And every kid's different and are all a different place. And holy cow. So, anyways, it's just, I love that you can, in retrospect, go back. So if you didn't know it then, so here's my question. Fast forward, whatever, probably over that 18, 20 years. Was it when you started consulting that you started working on this or before that?
It
When
was
did you
before
really?
that.
Okay.
Yeah, great question. So it started before there was a thing that triggered it. There was a disruption. The disruption was I was an engineering director at the company, at this huge job, huge team, and they decided to reduce the number of directors from 44 to 19. We all
Mhm.
had to re-interview, and I didn't get a job being a director. So I was basically demoted. If I was to stay at the company, I was going to be demoted. And it was that experience combined with my marriage was on the rocks
Mm.
that brought me to my knees, literally and figuratively, praying on the
Nice.
basement floor, um, asking God to help me figure out what to do because I don't know what to do anymore. I thought I had it figured out, but I didn't. It was that moment that started me on this path of figuring these things out. And it was ironic that it took sort of me getting to the end of me to have the humility to say, you know what? I don't know. I don't know the right way. I need help finding another way. And
Well, that,
that
yeah,
starts, and the first thing I did was define my values. I had this colleague, family friend, and he took me through this values definition process. So that was the first piece of the puzzle. And I was like, values? I never thought about values. Values, those look like company things. You don't think about them. And I defined them, and I was like, oh, wow, these are my values. Yep. Next week, I would think about it, look at them. Yep, these are, wow, this is good to know. But what do I do with it? It then became like, all right, this is great to know about myself, just like any other like assessment you take, Clifton Strengths or
mhm.
whatever. But how do I apply it? And that, Rick, that question right there became everything that has happened since. It has been, this is how you apply it. This is how you take awareness of who you are and translate it into what you do. And that has been the journey that I have been, and this is 2013, 2014, early. I have been on that journey nonstop every day, researching, analyzing, putting together answers and frameworks for how to help people do that.
That's awesome. Well, two things. First, God does his best work when you're crushed. Okay. When you're at the bottom, I had to lose everything, at '09 and start over with zero, no home, no nothing, like big transformation. You would talk about that some other time, but I love that you kind of the core value thing. Did that become part of an operating system for you?
Yep.
Because you started as input, as you're gaining input, your output is filtered through your values. Is that kind of how it worked for you?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Became a big piece of the operating system. It's kind of, just like you look at a company, they've got values. This is how we do, you know, this is what it's like to work here. This is what the place feels like. It just became ingrained in everything I did. And now I had the awareness of this is why I'm doing these things. And then there's all these other pieces, like, things that I just never would have thought about. Like, all right, what if I were to lay out all the areas of my life that are most important? And let's say it's a jar and I can only fit 5 or 6 big rocks in the jar. I'm sure you heard that analogy
Mm-hmm.
before. What are the 5 or 6 big rocks that I want to fit in that are areas of life? And I came up with 5. So it was career, which I was very focused on, spirituality, relationships, which included my family, friends, everyone, um, health, and finances. And I said, all right, I got these areas. And now what do I do with that? I've got these values and now I have these areas. And each area, I decided, you know what? I probably should have a vision statement for those. Each one individually. Like, what do I want my life to be like as far as my health? What I want it to be as far as my career and so forth. So I came up with vision statements. I mean, literally, I'm writing this down on a piece of paper. And then my next question was, oh, well, what if I set goals in each of those areas to help me move towards the visions? And now we've got a framework starting to be built. And then I said, all right, I set these goals. Oh, well, what if I filled my daily actions with things that supported each of those goals? And everything that I do on a daily basis can be captured in one of these pillars of goals that connect to the, framework that, and I did it and I drew it all out. And then I realized anything that I'm doing that doesn't fit in there, I should just stop doing. It's not helping me create the life that I want. And that realization, and then I started the engineer went overboard with the spreadsheet version and then evaluating myself at the end of the year because I would set goals in all the areas and I would evaluate myself just like I would do at work. I said, why am I only doing a self-assessment at work on my performance? Why don't I grade my performance as a father, as a husband? Why don't I grade my performance on how much fun I'm having, each year? And so I started to give myself red, yellow, green, and it became a thing. And so my life just had this incredible new in intentional direction. And I've been living it ever since. And that was in 2014. So I took the values and then started asking more questions, built the first framework I called the 1440 method. And then it was like, all right, that was great. Now what else can I build? Now what else will help me understand how to help myself and other people reach their potential?
And that's awesome. I have I love the five things. I put it this way. I do faith, family, finances, fitness, and friendships.
Mm,
That's my five, the five F's, so kind of same thing, right? And I always tell people they're not equally proportioned. So people talk about work-life balance kind of stuff, I go, well, it's not equal proportions. That's not life, right? But they all have a focus. Like you're saying, you have targets, you have goals. It's really important to understand where they're at in the priority list. My first would be faith, but it's in that order. Okay. I love the fitness and nutrition part. It's my funnest part. That's my fun because I'm that odd. Okay. So friendships, yeah, there's one or two in there. That's not a big thing for me. I mean, I like most people, you have a really small group of real friends, ones that got your six, stuff like that. But I love that you like, well, you're an engineer, so I'd expect nothing less that you'd end up in spreadsheets. Okay. So I'm a little more like crayon and maybe a ruler when I get fancy. Okay. But I still I like the approach, just like journaling and things like that, tracking, measuring, that's a big thing, right? In business and everything else we want to measure. Can't improve what you don't measure, right? You need to track, what you're going to measure, right? You got to understand that. Otherwise, and nothing works if you don't do that. I mean, nothing works well, I should say. There's no improvement going to happen. You'll got to kind of get status quo, but it's very difficult to improve. So I love that you took that value system and then put it into the pillars
yeah,
and then we're able to start to track and measure that.
yeah,
That's really powerful.
yeah.
When you've got and it's simple. What would you call it simple?
It
And not
was
from an
so
engineer
simple.
standpoint, from
It
like
was so
a
simple.
normal
Once
human.
once I thought it through, I mean, it's simple. It's not easy to do, and
Oh
it
yeah,
takes
no.
time. But Rick, I tell you, it's interesting how things start when you look back and you realize, wow, things started shifting back around that time. So one thing that shifted, my wife and I have been together since high school. We started 12th grade, and we'll be celebrating 25 years this
Nice.
September. And so it was 2014. So it was right after I had gone through all this. And we had before that the sort of I'll say traditional, my understanding of what a relationship should be. We were friends before we got together senior year of high school. Then we started dating. It was kind of the traditional, boy meets girl. You're in this love-based romantic relationship. And all I knew was that's what it's supposed to be. In 2014, we started to party together. And that, because that was a part of a vision within my
Well,
relationships.
just for define the party and together.
So this is what the party, it was a very specific event. The party together means like if she takes a trip, and this was a trip that she was taking to Miami because one of her friends was having like this big birthday party, and we went together
Okay.
and we had a ball. And that to me and you know, I don't say this lightly. I actually think it was that kind of activity between us that has kept us together this long. Because
You-
in 2016, that then turned into us taking a group trip. We invited 50 people for our 40th birthday. And then that turned into this annual 40s Travelers Club. My wife became part-time travel agent, all this. But the point is, and this is the reason I say this so emphatically, is as I look around at other relationships, I see the impact of kind of losing that um, sort of informality of a relationship.
well, I think, Andre, let me take it a little deeper. I think what it is, and you can tell me I'm crazy. She's going to the party. She's got friends down there for the big bread. She's going. You are, and I'm giving the man's perspective here, giving of yourself to go to a party of probably a bunch of girls, a bunch of women. Okay, have a good time. And you're like going to go there and maybe be the only guy.
There
Okay,
were guys
but
there.
okay, but what but initially you're like, what you're doing is you're giving of yourself. It's a sacrifice
Yeah.
for her. That's what it is. You're sacrificing for her. Now, people might think it's not a big. You're going to party, but it's not because, like, I know with me, that would be like, my wife loves to travel. She likes to go. Me, I'm not a good tourist. Okay, I want to go. Well, where do normal people live? Go drop me off there, pick me up when you're all done. Okay, and I'll go sit somewhere. But but it really is. I think that was part of the change because you were willing to go and do that, and just experience it with her, right? And if your mind's open enough where you actually had a great time and
Yeah.
you weren't there with your arms crossed, being angry,
Yeah.
okay, and you had a good time. I mean that's all I'm saying. It's like
Yeah.
that's a
No, you're
big
right.
move, man. That's a
You're right.
big. A lot of dudes won't do that.
You're right. And it was a
Okay,
game changer. It it
yeah,
it shifted everything. It shifted because I actually did have fun. You're right. I did go down with the sort of sacrificial, like, oh, I'll just because I don't know anyone. She's all her college friends, but we had such a good time. It just shifted everything.
that's awesome. I mean, but here's the point. This goes right back to your whole change in the way you think. You know, taking the negative and changing it and replacing it. This is the same thing in a relational sense that most people just they we live in I was having a conversation with a young guy, married a year now. He's 21. Okay, his wife's turned 21, and we had this discussion about kids. I'm like, dude, start early. Blessed is the mighty warrior's quivers full of arrows. Come on, man. That's your Psalm 127. Let's go. Okay. And he's like, yeah, I just looked at him. He goes, okay, I'm really selfish. I'll go, yeah, self-absorbed's a better word, buddy. I said, but I get it. It's okay. He just wants to have all his ducks in a row. And I'm like, that'll never happen. It'll never be the right time.
Yeah.
I said, start, you'll never regret it. I said, my dad, mom, me and my two brothers were out all in the military. My dad was 38. Okay. You know when I had my first child? 39. Okay. So yeah, I'm like, you had a whole second life, right? So it's just interesting. We have to that self-absorption, that selfishness, that inability to I guess the words connect, in that way. It's really cool you did that. Whether it was like you just happen to think that's a good idea or it was a very, very planned thing. With you, it seems like it might have been a very planned thing, but
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like it's really cool when you see the fruit of it, making that sacrifice. Because I'm telling you, it's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like I don't know if I'd want to be in that group. Okay, I don't, I don't know. I don't know if they'd want me in that group. I don't know.
I think you have a good time, Rick. I really do.
I'm sure I would. I am sociable. I'm a very I'm a very extroverted introvert. That's
Uh,
what I am.
Me
Okay.
too.
Yeah, but it's so that's 2014. Okay, you kind of got that going. How old were your kids at that time?
So one was 10, and the other one was -2. So we
Okay.
we have a 9 about to be 10-year-old and 21-year-old.
Wow. Wow, that's some space.
Yeah.
Well,
12
you
years.
know what I got? I got
I,
6 and 3.5 years. So no wonder your eyes got this big. Yeah, we paced ourselves every 10 years. Well, child, you know.
uh,
But it's here's the thing about that too, though. With your oldest, so she was 10 at the time, right?
mhm.
All right. So I have a great saying I learned from a guy. More is caught than taught with kids. Okay. It's something I learned that like you
Mm,
can say all the right things, but it's only what you do that they will absorb. They will be what you do, what you walk. You say all the right things. Don't mean a hill of beans if you're not walking it.
mm,
You say it and walk it, that becomes that mindset, right? That
yeah.
becomes the way they think, the way they operate. And too many people don't get that,
Mm,
So it's
mm,
if you can't put the walk with the talk, then it's and we've all heard this forever, but like it's legit. Like when you talk about your core values, do you find that's part of the core values? Like I have to be congruent because I hear a lot of people say this and do that. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm
Nope.
probably the first one that I like. Just that's not no.
Yeah.
It's hard to respect someone who doesn't do that. That's all I'm saying.
Right. I agree 100%. And I'm also seeing firsthand with a daughter, how important that is from the father's perspective
Oh,
and the decisions that she makes and, the things that I had no idea she was paying attention to. Um, had the biggest test, Rick. I didn't know this would be a test, and he'll probably watch this, so he'll hear this story, this version of it. But her boyfriend, she has a boyfriend now, they're in school together. They've been together about a year and a half. And he approaches us like back around Thanksgiving and he says, because he's a psychology major, he says, I have an assignment to interview a couple that's been together at least 5 years. And I wanted to see if I could interview you, Mr. and Mrs. Thornton. Now, Rick, I didn't know how significant this was, but this is to what you just said about walking the talk. So, first of all, do I say yes or no? And, some people will say, yeah, you say no, you don't, he's not allowed to pry into your relationship. That's one thought. Another thought is he's looking at me to set the demonstration of what he should be.
mm-hmm.
And am I going to turn that down? And am I ready for that scrutiny? Because what this turned into was a recorded Zoom with a transcript with me and my wife sitting right here side by side and very pointed questions about our relationship with my daughter on the other end of the Zoom in the background listening. So our
No
answers,
pressure.
right, our answers, there was no, and I didn't know all the questions ahead of time. So it was like, it had to be real and authentic, or he was going to know they're BSing me now. Like he would, and she's in the background because she's obviously very interested in these questions because she's thinking about her future life potentially with him. And it was just this, oh my goodness, is my marriage ready for this kind of scrutiny where I will be potentially leading as a man of the house a picture of what my daughter may expect. And I never thought that everything between my wife would show up in the way my daughter has to experience that way. And it was I need to ask him what he got on that test, on that paper. Actually, I hope
A
he
plus, I'm sure. I'm sure.
yeah, well, I need to circle back on that.
Oh, he lost the recording, maybe. Oh, I lost the recording.
Right, the
He don't
dog
want
ate
to
it.
know. He can't live up to it. That's why he lost the recording because he doesn't want a record now because he can't live up to it. That's what it is. I'm going to go with that. But it's funny, Andre, because that is the thing. Okay, I have two daughters, right? And they're looking at me, right? Who because they don't marry their fathers, but they marry their fathers.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
if you're abusive and this, they're going to be drawn to that. Again, more is caught than taught. It's just, and you see it all the time. Now, I tell my kids all the time, my little saying is always be who I am, not who I was.
Mm,
Okay, because I was a way different person in my 20s and early 30s. Like,
like
you don't want
that.
to be that person.
I
That's
like
why I
that.
tell them,
Right.
they're like, well, it took you till 39 to have kids. I go, because I would have ruined you in my 20s. You would have been six burdens on society. Okay, you or in jail or something. I don't know what would happen, but it's like, yeah, I was building business, doing things, but I look at that. I'm a transformed man, right? I
Yeah.
am not any of that. I mean, I can't even think about that stuff. Like, it just it makes it. So my goal was to be that. What they're seeing, what I'm saying is what they're seeing.
Mm,
And their friends, same thing. They see it.
mm.
And it's interesting as they get older. Like she's 20, your daughter's 21 now.
Yep.
So I got 21, 20s, I got a couple 20s, I got and they start telling you things at that age
Right.
about what they observed.
Yes.
Okay. And you start having these really like, why does mom do? I'm like, oh, brother. you know, why are you? Because I love her. That's what you say. Because I love her. But it's like it's really interesting. You know what I mean? And you start to really see the tracks you laid,
Yep.
right, for 20 plus years. And
Yep.
it goes fast, as you know. And
Yep.
I know but it goes back to that. How did you going back to chaos and drift and entropy and disruption? Okay. How did you handle that for 20 plus years in your family?
Before you're saying
Well,
before
what I'm
the
saying is,
enlightenment.
is a question you have to ask yourself.
Mm,
You have to
mm,
look back and go, okay, my kids are 21 now. They're 19, 18, 19, 20, 21.
yeah.
Okay. Like we look back now, we go look back 18 to 20 years. What was that? What did they see?
Yeah. It's a good
Right.
question. That's a
You
good
kind of
question.
start looking at that. And for those who are listening and they're like, my friend who doesn't want to have kids right now at 21, I always tell him this. I go, listen, brother, marriage is work. And he goes, yeah, I understand. I go, no, forever. It's work forever. Okay. You're never done. You're always working to maintain the relationship, making it better, working on your kids. You're doing all this stuff, and the old saying,
Right.
they're never off the payroll kind of thing, put in a business perspective. I go, that's life, but it's awesome.
Mm,
But it keeps you sharp.
yeah.
If you're actually paying attention, and you want to make a difference, that's how you got to look at it. But because he was asking me this morning something about, well, kind of when you have a child, then your life isn't. I go, let me quote Emerson for you. Okay. The writer, he said, when you have children, your life is no longer your own. I go, that's the saying. Put that in your brain and understand that. And that's okay. Because if it's all about you, man, you're going to be unfulfilled your whole life.
Mm, mm,
I said, you start bringing those kids in the mix. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter if you got a lot of money, no money, little money, big house, little house. None of that matters. You'll see.
mm,
And it'll all be provided for, man. You'll be able to handle it if you're just awake
mm,
and you're doing it. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
mm.
Pretty cool. So I
I'm
love that
glad.
story of yours. I think it's pretty awesome. That he sounds like a pretty squared away dude. Do you like him?
Yeah, I do. I do. He's
Okay.
I think he's speaking of, be who I am, not who I was. He reminds me more of who I am than who
Oh,
I was
nice.
at
Yeah.
his age.
Well, like my son, right? Man,
Yeah,
you are not. Holy cow.
yeah, just advanced. Like, and
Yeah, and honestly, with my kids, that's what you want.
yeah.
Like your kids or who they're with. My daughter, my oldest daughter, has been dating. I won't call it dating because we didn't let them date for. She's 20 now. 5 years. Same guy. Met him in high school. He's actually our pastor's son, right, at church stuff. But they just kind of hit friends first, and then we kept it friends first, and they were still friends first. And 3 years in, it's still friends. Okay, come over and it's totally chaperone. The whole deal. When you
Uh,
got a pastor for the guy, and you got me as the father, okay,
nowhere to
I'll
go.
pop your head like a zit if you get out of control. Okay, so it's it was well done, and she's awesome, right? Just a woman of God, he's a man of God, and it's like, and you see this, and now he's second year of college, finishing up, and all this. Now talking about marriage, dating, and it's been cool to see, but who they become, who they both are at this time, as you watch them grow up,
Mm,
it's kind of an interesting thing. And then my other daughter, is in a different place, younger, no dating, stuff like that. She's got this trick she does, Andre. You'll appreciate this. Whether I'm at the gym and she's at the gym working out, or we're at church and there's a guy who likes her, who maybe she doesn't like really. So she has this little trick where she comes and introduces them to me. Okay. So come on. So then this is something, hey, first I give them the handshake, okay. And if that's a fish, If that's the dead fish handshake, I'm like, you're done, kid. Get out. Okay, you got to go. But we do the whole thing, and I always begin with, well, you understand this isn't happening, right? And I point to her and him. I go, this is not happening. And he just looks at me. I go, do you understand me? Like, she's not dating. You're not dating her. She's not dating you. Okay. Like, and I had one guy like get into an argument with me about it. Okay. Now I'm a man with considerable skills and size. Okay. And I told this kid in church, I'm like, no, you're not understanding me. Like, she's got her own issues she's working through, and you're a mess. I said, he worked at Culver's, the little ice cream place, whatever it is, fast food place. I go, here's what you're going to do, young man. Okay. First, you're going to get out of your little group home. Okay. You're going to get a place to live. You're going to quit that child's job at Culver and go get a man's job. You're going to get that. You're going to work on becoming a godly man that a godly woman want to be with. Okay. Now, when you go do all that, we can revisit this. Is that understood? So if I see you sitting next to her, I see you talking to her, okay, like, I'll end you. Okay. And he's a big kid. He's just looking at me like, are we good? He's like, okay. Then I see him they're in another room, a big room. I'm at the glass doors way in the back. They got about 4 seats in between each of them. You know what I mean? So he's not sitting next to him. And he just, by chance, Andre, he turns around, looks back, and I'm just standing there, arms crossed, looking at him. He probably felt the heat in the back of his head. He stopped coming to church. Okay. Well, some of that's in fun. Most of it's pretty serious. So she does that. She brings someone up to the gym, introduce them like, okay, that means this guy won't leave her alone. And I give him the talk. Oh yeah, my father tells me the same thing. I go, oh, does he? And you ignore it. You're here hitting on my daughter. So you don't respect your father. Is that what I'm hearing? The kid just crawls away. So anyways, where are we
She's like,
going
you
with
need to
this?
meet my dad. You know
Yeah,
what?
yeah. Come meet my father. He's wonderful. Yeah. That guy who's hitting the heavy bag over there for like a half hour straight, he's okay. Well, I got to run. That's what happens with it. But it's good. But yeah,
Right.
no, I love it, man. I love it. I love the aspect to kind of go full circle here, kind of back to the whole change of thought. You know what I mean? How you control these emotions, these feelings, and stuff like that. Let's dive back into that. Let me pull us out of the 5 rabbit holes we went down and get back up here, and just so we can say we actually talked about that.
Right.
But because it's important. Okay. Now let me ask you another question first. Is this are you gonna is this under the blanket of emotional intelligence, or is this completely different? Is this not that? It's not being aware, you're actually changing. So where does EQ fit in this equation here?
Yeah, great question. A few years ago, I learned about this relatively new concept called positive intelligence.
Hmm.
And what positive intelligence is it focuses on the thoughts that drive the feelings. I think emotional intelligence is great. All the EQ work is great, the 4 quadrants, because it is self-awareness, self-management, and then others, empathy, and then management of relationships with others. So I think, those quadrants and all the competencies in them are great. What I like about positive intelligence is it gave me the step function of thought driving feeling that then gave me something I could work on fixing. And so EQ fits in there's this book, Positive Intelligence is the name of the book. Shazad Shamin is the author. And the way he talks about positive intelligence is it's the operating system that's sort of beneath everything and beneath emotional intelligence. So if you get your positive intelligence right, then your emotional intelligence will naturally improve because it's the thought that's driving the feeling. So, I pay attention to that. There's specific processes in that and methods and practices to use, and I pay attention to those. I would say though, that's one component. And then the other components are, I mean, think of it if you just kind of married the work of Carol Dweck with mindset, Simon Sinek with Start with Why, Brene Brown with vulnerability, Um, there's one other piece that connects rethinking and systems thinking and mental models. I don't think I know of a specific author, but there's a sort of class of study around that. Combine those things with things like law of attraction and then mix in grind culture. Because I'm an engineer. I'm ex-football player. I did go to a military college, by the way, Virginia Military Institute. I am uh, for the first 22 years of my life very much hard-nosed, grunted
Right.
out, and I did carry that into my adulthood. And then people started saying, "Oh, no, you don't have to work hard. You just, you know, get in a good mood and, you'll be attracting the things to you and you don't
Did,
have to actually do anything."
did that work?
No.
Okay. Just for quick clarification.
So here's what's important. That doesn't work. But I also have found there's something to you don't just grind it out and feel horrible while you're doing it and expect great things to happen.
There you go.
And it's the marriage of the two. You do the work, but you find a way to do it that you can enjoy because when you are enjoying it, you will be literally smarter. Like your
Mhm.
brain will have access to more of its cognitive capacity. And that's the balance. You do the work. First, you figure out what you want to do and why it's important to you. And then you find ways to dose yourself and make yourself basically be able to move through when you're afraid and fear-based thoughts. And then you pick the things you want to go do. And the leadership part of it is all this stuff, like this two stabilizers in the beginning, and then the first three accelerators are all about self. Like you kind of get yourself in a place where you can then lead others. Because the final four accelerators are about now, how do you lift others as you rise? Because you can't do it all alone, but you're doing it from a place not of sort of command and control management, but more inspirational leadership. And you have to though build yourself up in the first stabilizers and accelerators to be in a place where you can do that because leadership is energy. It's not I know there's all kinds of definitions and practices, but if someone shows up and they're trying to do what the textbook says a leader should do, but they're giving off horrible energy, they're just not going to get the same response and they're not going to get the same outcome. And so I'm about helping people manage their energy in a way that puts them in a position to be most likely to get the outcome that they want, no matter what disruption comes their way.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of power to the energy aspect. People they'll name it different things. You know what I mean? But it's infectious. Okay, energy is infectious. So is negative energy.
Yep.
Same thing. You can bring a room up, you bring it down. The old thing, be a thermostat, not a thermometer. Thermometer, here's the temperature. Well, I'm a thermostat. I can change it. I can raise it. I can lower it. That's what I do when I come in a room. I'm a thermostat. Thermostat is here. I want to change things. You know what I mean? So I really like that. I think, and from the leadership standpoint as well, it's I don't have the right word, but I'm going to use it. It's a cluttered field. Okay. I
Good
don't
word.
have a better way to say it. And the more I get, because I have a methodology and I have a thing with installing command as infrastructure, and I do all this different stuff, right? So as I've seen it all and interviewed people endlessly and read the books and everything else, it gets to this point where it's all one-on-one individual. It's this. I had a woman, she worked for the YWCA for 20 years. Now she's with the YMCA here, and she did a lunch and learn about the personalities and your D and your S and all this kind of stuff and how we should all do that. And I just had this question, Andre, at the end. I said, so is the goal then you have what, 50, 75 employees over there? Are you putting their little D or an S on their name badge? And then we have to go to that and figure out how to speak to them because they need to be talked. Okay. And she's just, I go, well, it seems weird. It seems impossible. Okay. I don't know if I can like they pay you for this. I didn't say that, but I just, there's something, there's some absurdity. Okay. In leadership training, everything else. None of what we've talked about so far is that, just for the record.
Oh,
There's no
good.
absurdity in anything we've touched on, including what I said. Okay. But
Especially what you said.
especially, I'm just a nut job. Okay. It's not absurd at all. But, you hear these things all the time and they see these and they try to stack these different things. Okay. Like EQ. Okay. I like it. I think of that as, it's, it, it's an action regulator. Okay. So like when I think of EQ, why do I come in the house when I get home and go straight to the refrigerator and open it and look at it? Why do I do that? That's an action regulator. Okay. Now I know deep down how my mother didn't feed me or whatever the case might be, right? So I gotta make sure there's food. But I'm just saying, like, I kind of get that emotional intelligence about like your actions, what it makes you do,
Yeah.
So it's very different than the other things we're talking about, right? So and that there's validity to that, but it's categorizing it properly, I think is the challenge. And then you've spent however many 10, 15, 20 years studying this, right? So here's my big question. How do you bring that to a client?
Yeah.
Like, is there kind of the baby step process? Is there this? Is you slap them once in the face, and if they're really bad, you slap them twice to get their attention? Like, what's going on here? Because it seems overwhelming on
Yeah.
where to begin on this.
Yeah. So think of it as there's all these tools, and it's really helpful for me to just know what's out there, and I
Right.
think of it as a tool set, right? Like literally a chest of tools or like a tool belt. And so with a client, what I do is I talk to them and understand what their problem is, the pain point, very standard business stuff. And everyone's pain points have to do with, in some frame or fashion, all the idiots around them. And I'm oversimplifying that and being a little harsh with the word idiot, but there is some disconnect between the way one person or one set of people are behaving and the expectations of other person or other people. That's what it all comes down to. Now, with this engineer approach, we design things, right? So we design things that work a certain way. And so I go in and I say, all right, so what is broken? What would you like fixed? Oh, well, my team, they just won't, uh, they need me to come in and fix things all the time. They can't seem to fix things on their own. And that, keeps me always busy doing these tactical things and I can't focus on strategy. Or it's someone else at a different level in the organization that says, well, the executives are just kind of hard to connect with. They don't communicate enough. There's not enough awareness of what's happening. The team doesn't feel like, they're getting what they need from the executive team, the executive leaders. And we found this through some kind of assessment that we did. And now we're looking for help with that. Or we've got conflict between this group and that group, or they're not talking to each other. There's silos. Like it's all these sort of very standard issues that just show up when you get a bunch of people together and throw them in a room and tell them to start working together. Like people are just, they don't mean to, but they're just going to jab at each other. That's just what we do. We don't, we have a natural desire to have a higher status. That's just part of our DNA as humans, but we also want to be a part of a community. And those two things just go back and forth with each other. And so once I understand what the problem is, it's like, oh, okay, well, that needs a hammer and that needs a Phillips, no, flathead screwdriver for that. And then, we'll bring in a wrench, Allen wrench this size. And this will be what's in your workshop to solve those very specific behavioral problems. And here are the follow-on sessions we'll do to drill in those new behaviors. But it all comes back down to this programming of the thoughts, feelings, actions, outcomes. That's the thing that's constant. If we can change the way people are thinking in the moment, even if it's a thought that is going to lead them down a bad road, teach them that they can choose a different thought that's going to cause a different feeling and take a different action, then we'll get a different outcome.
Okay, so here's a question then. Do you find, and this is, I'll just ask the question, do you find that that helps it stick more? Because a lot of times in leadership training, and you go to the 2-day seminar, you go to 3 day, and it's all good, and you come back all excited on Monday. By Thursday, you're pretty much forgotten. Definitely by the end of the quarter, no one's, it's all back to drift and entropy, right? So
Yeah.
do those tools that you're using, do you find it, and this is not self-incriminating, okay, this question, it's just, does it help it stick?
Yeah,
Do these people, because that's important.
the only thing I have found that makes it stick is I have to stick around. We have to do this over time. I've never done, and I don't know if they'll mean this to hurt future engagements, but a one-time engagement may leave people feeling great in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
but within hours,
Yep.
it's fizzled. And once I realized that, again, back to the being the engineer, that to make this stuff work, because I got into this to make it work. I mean, I could still be building airplanes,
Mm-hmm.
if I was just looking for just something to do. But I'm really in this to help people change and grow and achieve. So our engagements are multi, over multiple months, multiple touch points and learnings and tracking the actions. The way I teach
There
it
it is.
is I say, we're in the room. You're not learning while we're here. I'm just sharing information. The learning happens when you're outside this room and you're taking the actions and you're getting the feedback and seeing how things go. So that's how I deal with that.
I love it. Such the right answer. Okay, that was the right answer I was hoping I'd hear. Okay, because
Because you don't know, right?
because there's a lot of, it's a cluttered field,
Yeah.
and they go, and it's what we don't, so we install command, we create identity. Okay, it has to be who you are. That's how you maintain enforcement, and everything else is through identity. So our thing is, we're going to put in infrastructure, right? And then we do, like you said, we track it. We're able to track it. They have standards to hold to. They have to upload things, and it's always an earned position. There's no coasting.
Right.
This is all tracked forever. I built ecosystems and intelligence systems that'll track this for their whole career, like when
Mm,
they do, right? So it's quantifiable, and we
yeah.
see it. That's why they can catch the drift early, right? They can see the entropy and stuff like that. So I love that you're doing that. And I think it's good that people hear that it's not a one and done. Like nothing is. You ever teach someone how to do something? You think they got it after the first time you show them? They don't. Okay. That's why you got the minimum 3, right? Watch me, help me, I watch you. Okay. It looks like maybe you have it until
Mhm.
tomorrow when you've forgotten what you did.
Right.
Okay. And you're doing it wrong
Right.
again. So like it's the repetition, right? We got to do our reps. We got to put them in. Right. And that's how it works. We do the same thing. We have a 90-day, they have a 2-hour session once a week. The rest of the week they're applying it and they're recording it and they're uploading it, for next week. And it's all tracked, right? What happened, how this worked, going, but we have a vocabulary we teach them, right? So it's a whole thing. Like you said, that's how you have to instill it. Just like you're doing. It's not, there is no one and done. I didn't learn how to box because I took one lesson. Okay. I'm
Right.
really good because I have been hitting the bag for 35 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm pretty good. At least the bag doesn't hit back. So I'm good that way, but we really have to understand that there's time involved. It's time under tension that builds strength, right? That helps it stick. So yeah, I love that answer. It's really, really good. So books coming out. When's the book coming out? You got a
March
published date?
31st.
March
March
31st.
31st is
Nice.
our
Okay,
release date.
awesome. So that's great. What's next? for Andre Thornton?
Oh, so the book is Andre, and I'm actually, because of the baseball player, decided to list my full name, Andre Whitman Thornton.
Nice.
So there'll be a website launch with the book and, keynote and, kind of follow on package with the book to go with it. That's the big next thing for me. So I've been Whitman Consulting only, and Whitman Consulting's still here. That's the business entity. But I'm the introvert that does, leadership training in front of a bunch of people. Introvert and I'm shy. So I am 10 years later stepping in to fully embrace AndreWhitmanThornton.com as a website and as a brand. The other thing about putting the Whitman in there is it helps people understand where the name of the company came from.
Right.
Because no one ever told me that it was a great name like you did. I appreciate you telling me that.
Dude, it's class. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, man. I think doing another book is the right thing to do. I'm not kidding. I'm not saying this because you're my guest. I mean, that's a differentiator.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a differentiator, man. It's awesome. So here's the thing. Are you building? Here's what I do with my books. Okay, I got a few books, and I always build a program or an academy around those.
Okay.
Right. So I write a book like my latest one, Sharpen the Spear, is like it's 97 pages. It's a field manual. I'm very practical, no fluff. It's 97 pages, including blank pages and copyright page and everything else, right? So it's like it's a get it done thing. But obviously, I built training programs around it, now a whole ecosystem, now a business, escape the owner principle like that as well, right? Started a coaching program. So my books, I know this is your intention or not, but it may be a thing, is that they always want more, right? I can give my best work. This is just one of those tips for guys creating content. You can give your absolute best work away, and people won't believe you don't have more. Do you know what I mean? They go, he's holding back on me. I
Uh,
gave you my best. No, you
uh,
didn't, man. You're holding back on me for the big paying clients. Well, okay, you're right. Be a big paying client. I'll show you what else I got. Okay. So, but you know what I mean? So it's
yeah.
always the books are a really great starting point.
Mhm.
This is your first, right?
Yeah. First book.
Yeah. So it's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank
You're in the whatever it is, 2%.
you. Oh, is that
You
what
know
it
what I
is,
mean?
people?
There's like 2% of people, 85% of like all Americans want to write a book. 2% do.
Oh,
Okay. So
interesting.
you're in my club now.
Oh,
Andre
well,
Whitman Thornton.
I'm so glad to be here. I
Okay,
didn't know
yeah.
that
So
stat.
welcome to the club.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Thank
yeah,
you.
get working on the second one because I feel like I did one. Now I'm just one. I had to do a second one. So I wrote a second one. And I'm turning it into a trilogy. That's how excited I am. It's going to be a trilogy. Uh, but it really is. Congratulations on that. It's a lot of work. I put a lot of work into mine. I know what it takes to put it out. It's not something you threw in Chat GPT. You know what I mean? Actually, you took years, decades of experience, and you put it in a book. That's what I did. All my failures, all my failures. Oh, come on, let me share all my failures. But here's the corrections. Here's how it worked. Here's my story. Weaved all that in there. It's really great when you're able to do that, like with your book. Saying it's going to mean a lot to the people that read it.
Mm,
So you want to get it in the hands of those people, which is that's what it's all about.
yeah.
So the thing that people don't know, you ain't getting rich from writing a book. Okay, like
Yeah. I learned that early. Yeah.
yeah, like that's not what you're writing. If you're writing a book to make money, wow, that's time you're never going to get back.
Talk about disruption and disappointment.
That's right, man. It is an authority builder,
Yeah.
and it'll help the people that it needs to help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They'll get it. It's all good. So but congrats on that. So having that. So that's just a thing. I mean, you're already consulting. You're doing that. You may be starting a new wing here with this
Yeah.
programs, everything else, which is awesome. I love to see that from a business standpoint, right? Our stuff, we have content, we have experience. We need to monetize it. It's not a dirty word, okay? Because you know the saying, when people pay, they pay attention,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
I learned
there we
that.
go. It's all good. So, but what else? What else you seen in the future? You got the book coming out, going to be doing that. Like, let's go out 5 years because
Mm.
you're a spreadsheet, got red, yellow, green dots and goals and everything. You got to have what's my 5 year plan? You have to have that. I will not believe you don't have that.
Yeah, I have drawn that out. And not in a whole lot of detail, but I do have some kind of major goals and ideas. And what's great about it is I have absolutely no idea how to do it, which means that I will have to grow in order to.
Yeah, it's the best place to start.
But I see an expansion if these ideas continue to be helpful for people, an expansion to a global version of this in 5 years, where, in different languages, different countries. And I connected with a really interesting guy recently. And he actually wrote an endorsement for the book, which was very gracious. And, I'm going to use that on the cover of the book. His name is Alan Mulally. He was the CEO of Boeing Commercial, and then asked to become CEO of Ford Motor Company by Bill Ford in 2006. He was the CEO of Boeing. He had just gotten the job in July of 2001, and then 9/11 happened. And, they lost 50% of their orders the next day. And it was, of course, as horrible as it was. And he saved the company. Then asked to go to Ford and save the company. And I didn't realize Ford was in as bad a shape as it was back in '06, but they were losing $17 billion that year, and he turned them around in a few years, got them up to 6 billion. And he's got a system that he uses there and he's using now. And that's kind of inspired me to think even more clearly about the system that I'm building and how that system can expand and not necessarily change, but sort of evolve to just be able to affect and help more people. So the long-term vision of this, the work that I do now mostly is with companies. Businesses will bring me in, for their senior leadership team or group of managers or employees. I see the longer term vision as this is more a B2C model. And this is something that people can, in their own communities, take these same principles and use them, not just at work, but also in life. And, exactly what that looks like, I don't know. I just know from my vision perspective, it's a whole heck of a lot of people
Yeah,
that I'm hopefully able to touch with this stuff that brings together law of attraction and grind culture.
it's awesome. You know what? I was thinking about the guy with Ford. You know what else they didn't do under his tenure, I believe, in 08, 09? They didn't take any
Yeah,
public money.
yeah,
They kept all that stuff private. That I was like, I'm buying Fords.
yeah,
I'm done with Chevy.
yeah,
Okay. I'm like, just for that move. Okay. That took some stones.
yeah,
Okay. I mean, they put the whole family name on the line, the whole
yeah.
deal. They did that. So I give them props for that. Okay. Because that was impressive. That really stood out to me at that time when I didn't get a bailout for my little company. I had to lose. Yeah, let me get squashed. It's okay, but the too big to fail guys all got their piece of my pie. But yeah, so I think that's a good role model. You know what I mean? You see guys
Yeah,
like that, the high level turnaround guys. Doing
right.
stuff that Lee Iacocca's way back in the day, right, with Chrysler. What he
Mm,
did, took $1 for a salary, $1 a year until he turned that thing around. You know what I mean? That guy was it was. Have you? Well, we'll talk about. I was going to say the Ford versus Ferrari documentary, the movie.
No, I haven't seen
Oh,
it.
you got to watch it. You'll love it, dude. It's a good movie.
Is it?
Yeah, really, really good movie. Yeah, you got
Is it
to.
based on, is it a true story?
Uh-huh. Yep.
Oh, I need to check
Yeah,
that out.
really cool. Yeah, good
First,
movie.
need to
So
check that out now. Yeah,
yeah,
Alan has this working together leadership and management system. Everything that he did, he just created environments where people work together. It was really that
crazy,
simple. Yeah. Imagine that.
crazy.
Imagine that.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It's
the reason it was so phenomenal and such a big deal, I know the rooms he was in. Those executives at that level don't
they don't
work
play well
together.
together.
Do
Yeah,
not at all. By definition, it's almost like ingrained. And he was able to come in at the most senior level and create an environment where the teams would do that and it would just flow down through the. That's just such a remarkable, and he's just such a great human being too, the way he
well,
approaches it.
He's a guy who understands it all starts at the top
Yeah.
and goes down. I don't care. You almost got to it. I don't know if you were going to say it earlier, but oh, what's the problems? And they're saying this, and you're talking to the owner saying this, and this person does this, and you, I'm not hearing you in this statement.
Right.
You're the
Right.
problem, because that's often the case, to,
Yeah.
to, to some degree. Could be a small degree, could be a very large degree, but we all have to take that ownership as well, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and I'm kind of the problem too,
Yeah.
but it's all good. It's all good. Everything could be fixed. So
Mhm.
awesome. So Andre, the book will be on the website. One more time with the website.
So the website will be in the next couple of weeks, andrewhitmanthornton.com. And all one word, the book will be out there. I'm Andre, either W Thornton or Whitman Thornton on LinkedIn. Andre Whitman Thornton on Instagram. Starting to do some more work there. So just look for the Whitman and a Thornton and an
Are
Andre,
you,
and you'll find me.
are you doing the book on Amazon, selling on
Yeah.
there and your
Yeah.
website? You selling it on your website
On
too?
the website and Amazon. Yep.
Are those the autograph copies?
Oh,
For an
you so.
extra, I'm helping you out here.
Yeah,
Bump up for the now Andre Whitman Thornton. That's worth some extra dollars.
hey, I'm
Branding,
game.
baby.
I'm game.
But think about it. It's just a little signature on there.
Yeah,
I'm full of tips. I'm full of tips,
I
Andre.
like
You want to
that.
know about kids or you want to know about signing books? I got it all. I can cover it all. It's
I
awesome.
like
So,
that. I
so that's
like
great. Yeah, everyone just when this book will be out by the time of this recording's out, it'll already be available. So get it, read it, and then do what I always say: apply it. Okay, whether that means getting in touch with Andre and talking about how he can help you overcome those crazy thoughts you have and your other issues. No, I'm just kidding there. But get the book, apply it, start using this stuff, share it out. It's important. Books are great, but if they go back on the shelf and you're done reading them, you lost that time. You'll never get it back, and you'll think you know something. Remember, thinking and doing is two very different things. I train people a lot, right? So they think they're all going to do all this in some security situation. Yeah, they don't do anything. Okay. I come with just a little snap and they just crumble
that.
because you only perform to your highest level of training. So if you've never trained, not going to be a lot of performance there. Okay. So as we read this stuff, now we got to go put it into play. You got to go make sure it works. Otherwise, it's just theory, and I'm pretty sure your book is not theory. Okay. After decades of doing this stuff. So thank you so much, Andre, for the time today. A lot of time. I appreciate it. Very cool conversation. Brought some really amazing insight to the conversation. Very helpful. I really appreciate it. All the time you give me today. And for everybody else, we'll see you on the next STS podcast. Thanks for joining me on the Sharpen the Spear podcast. If you're a manufacturing executive and you're serious about unlocking hidden profit, improving frontline leadership, and taking control of your floor, go to grit2lead.com right now. Run the free Sharpened Impact Simulator and discover your biggest opportunities are hiding. Don't leave millions on the table. Sharpen your spear, lead from the front, and win the floor. Until next time, stay sharp.